During my short time making YouTube videos, there have been a few creatives who I've looked up to for artistic inspiration. One of these people being Donald Glover, whose work in music and TV is something I've held in very, very high regard. Recently, I read an article about how he interviewed himself. Yeah, it's hard to be a fan of this guy sometimes. And in the interview, he went on to state that his 2013 album, Because the Internet, was the OK Computer of rap. I don't know what the hell that means, but it got me thinking, what is the OK Computer of anime? Taylor and I had this discussion, and he believed it to be Neon Genesis Evangelion. He's wrong, but that's business as usual when it comes to Taylor. Actually, no, he's right. In some ways, at least from an influential sense. Evangelion, just like OK Computer, has innovated in its respective medium and has inspired many other projects and directors. Finally, it took me like 6 times to make that line. But from a purely thematic standpoint, I think that there's a much better fit for the title of the OK Computer of anime. One that not only shares similar themes to OK Computer, but also similar elements, cool coincidences, and an almost prophetic prediction of how things would be today in present day, present time. That anime being the 1998 cult classic avant-garde mindfuck of a story, Serial Experiments Lain, aka Big Brain Lane. Hi everyone, welcome to Jump Report. I'm your host Noah. He's not here today. We'll get to that at the end of the video, but for now, I would like to tell you why I believe Serial Experiments Lain is the OK Computer of anime, thematically, from a thematic standpoint, not from like, it's different. It's a weird title to give something to begin with. I don't know why.
So OK Computer, are you fellas proponents of technology and computer technology?
It was kind of a fear-based phrase, really.
Is it?
Yeah. It was. We bought all this stuff and we didn't really know how to use it, and we used to walk around the studio going, "Okay, computer," and like you would if you knew. Yeah, go, and it wouldn't do anything.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of that, really.
Do you feel that computers can bring about a community? Can they bring people closer?
I think that the best thing about computers, as far as I'm concerned, is the email thing, the whole thing on the internet. That's really cool. But I mean, I don't want to spend like 6 hours a day in front of a computer personally. That's not my idea of fun. I'd like to actually go out and have a drink with someone. So.
So it seems like people either really feel like they're being really honest on a computer, like they can really tell their innermost feelings, or they've got a pseudonym that they're totally writing a fictional.
Yeah, well, we had this thing when we were doing the album. We used to go and sit on in the Radiohead chat sites like at 4 in the morning, and we'd constantly be saying no, we are in the band, really, and people never believed you because there'd be 8 other people saying that they were me or something, and it really does your head in after a while. In the end, you give up and just pretend to be somebody else. It's the police.
Present day. Present time.
Now, for those of you who haven't seen Serial Experiments Lain, stop the video right now and go watch it. It's 13 episodes long. It's actually all on YouTube for free. Just watch it. It's considered a classic and it's up there with some of the deepest, most profound anime I have ever watched. And if you haven't listened to Radiohead's OK Computer, go ahead and give it a listen. Nothing really to spoil there. Don't really know how you can spoil a music album. I'm sure there's a way, but it's definitely required reading for this video. While it's not in my personal top 3 rock albums of all time, or even my favorite Radiohead album, I can't deny it is a masterpiece that is still a 10 out of 10 for me. It's just these albums are an 11 out of 10. Yeah, I know. F*** you.
F*** you. F*** me. F*** you.
Also, one last thing. This is my opinion. I don't actually think Serial Experiments Lain was directly inspired by Radiohead's OK Computer. At least I couldn't find any evidence of such. I just wanted to make a video to highlight some of the themes they share and cool similarities between these two respective works of art. Anyways, I'll go off the honor system and assume you watched and listened to the aforementioned. And yes, there will be potential spoilers for Lain, so heads up. Let's go ahead and start with the context and time period of Serial Experiments Lain and OK Computer. That way you have an idea of what was going on at the time these respective works of art were released. OK Computer was released in 1997, and Serial Experiments Lain was released a year later. Both works came out during the turn of the century. During this time, the internet and personal computers were still in their infancy. Back then, computers were seen more as a hobbyist interest as opposed to something that was required for everyday life. Y2K was also a massive event that was looming over the world. For any of our viewers who are Gen Z or younger, Y2K was basically a computer glitch that was predicted to occur once computer clocks went from December 31st, 1991 to January 1st, 2000. People weren't sure what would happen once this glitch occurred, so there was a lot of fear and paranoia going on into the new millennia. Thankfully, it didn't happen.
Do you have any concerns about like all these talks about Y2K and millennium bugs and
Whatever.
But at the time, many people still had their worries and doubts. If you want to read more about it, I'll link an article in the description that gives some more insight into the Y2K incident. Now, why do I bring these events up? Well, I believe that the attitudes of people during the Y2K event, plus the attitudes people had towards emerging tech, played a huge role in the development of both OK Computer and Serial Experiments Lain, and what themes they chose to explore. Starting off, I like to go ahead and talk about the outlook that Lain and OK Computer had towards technology. I think both works of art highlight technology as a game changer, providing the benefits that derive from it, but a lot of its drawbacks too. If you remember that Radiohead interview from the beginning, the band noted that they do see some positives in the innovations of technology. Not only is this emphasized in the interview, but also off the first song on the album, Airbag, in which the lead singer Tom York discusses his near-death car accident and how he was saved by an airbag. If it wasn't for that airbag technology, York could have sustained more injuries or have had something even worse happen to him. This is an example of a positive outlook on technological dependency from the album, but Radiohead also notes the negatives of this dependency. A couple of lyrics back, York mentions the crash happening in a fast German car. Obviously, this car couldn't have reached such speeds if it weren't due to advancements in, well, technology. In this situation, it was machinery that determined the fate of the driver. Having technology determine the outcome of one's life is definitely a byproduct on our society's over-reliance on it. It's a very disturbing thing to think of, since we would like to believe we at least have some control over our destiny and fate. Lain also looks at the over-reliance on computers, but in an almost metaphorical way. In episode 2, we see a boy at the local nightclub purchase something that at first we believe to be a club drug of some kind. In reality, it's a pill-shaped computer chip. I believe that this scene is intended to provide commentary on technology and how we're so dependent on it. This is further reinforced by the fact that the boy swallows the pill down with an alcoholic drink, a substance that many people struggle with and use as a coping mechanism for their day-to-day lives. Lain still acknowledges the positives that come with technology, as it allows for Lain to speak with people from anywhere across the world and Japan, but there are still some downsides to this that the anime addresses, and we'll get to that in a bit. Both OK Computer and Lain convey how everyday life will be affected by technology in both good and bad ways. Still, the question is raised, is our survival as a species overly dependent on this technology? The main fear behind Y2K was that all global infrastructure, such as banks, power grids, and airlines, would collapse due to all those services overly relying on those computers to run their systems. All those systems were at the mercy of the machinery. Another aspect where Experiments Lain depicts an overdependence on technology is in Lain's gradual increase in her usage of her computer. Navi. When the story begins, Lain has a very basic Navi, and despite her shyness, still tries to interact with her peers. However, we see things change as the story goes on, with Lain becoming more withdrawn, spending more and more time on her ever-growing PC rig. A couple of times we see one of Lain's internet personas take up a physical form. She has a lot of personas. But this Lain is a lot braver, assertive, and outgoing, a total opposite from how she is in real life. Lain's real life social skills aren't always the best. I believe that her gradually growing dependency on technology for her social interactions hinders her ability to form proper connections with those present around her. In fact, it gets so bad at several points, Lain's only real friend Alice starts to worry about Lain's well-being. We've now established Lain's alienation from society is a byproduct of the technology she uses. This theme of social alienation is not only seen in Lain, but also, drumroll please, OK Computer. This is discussed on the third track, Subterranean Homesick Alien, in which Tom York describes the feelings of isolation. In fact, York feels he's so different from those around him that he would have more in common with aliens than with other humans. He even asks to be abducted and taken away from Earth. This usage of aliens as metaphors for feeling like an outcast in society can be seen in Lain too. In one scene, we see an alien spying on Lain as she sits on her Navi, representing how Lain feels alone and isolated from those around her. In another scene, we see Lain's head on an alien body as she speaks to her friend Alice. The reason for her alien appearance is to show how she is looked at by the rest of society, a strange outsider. I think it's really cool that both these works use aliens to talk about societal isolation, a problem that was actually growing in Japan with the rise of NEET culture. For those of you who don't know, NEET people are folks that have voluntarily withdrawn themselves from society, deciding not to socialize with the outside world out of a growing disillusionment. I think that's how you pronounce it. For Japan's stagnant economy and post-industrialized workforce. This rise of NEET culture came about during the time of Lain's release, and it doesn't surprise me that we see it touched upon throughout the themes of Serial Experiments Lain. One quote that really stuck out to me from Lain was this one.
あくまでも情報を伝達し、コミュニケーションするための空間、リアルワールドと混同してはいけない。
A sentiment that was also brought up in a way by the person who inspired the making of this video.
That's the thing. What we're fighting for, what I'm fighting for right now, and I'm not doing this in music. This is not about rap. I'm an artist. This is about life. I'm trying to be real because the internet isn't real. There's so much shit that happens online and people perceive it and it's packaged as real, but nothing's real anymore.
Anyways, these quotes from Lain and Donald Glover were important to me. I really don't think the internet should be allowed to interfere with your day-to-day life. Now, I understand computers are essential for work, school, and communication with others, but I think that sometimes the time we spend on technology can be overkill. I believe that this is something Radiohead alludes to on the very last track of OK Computer, The Tourist. In this final track, the band talks about how people navigate through life similar to a tourist visiting a country. All they want to do is rush from place to place as quickly as possible and try to do everything they possibly can without much forethought. Nevertheless, Radiohead argues with this song that it is important to sometimes slow down and enjoy your life in the present moment. A surprisingly positive note to end a somewhat cynical and blunt album. If I had to make one takeaway from Lain and OK Computer, it would be to spend more time with those around me as opposed to spending time on the internet. After all, Lain's dad, who may or may not be God, states that the internet at the end of the day is just a way to communicate information. Nothing more and nothing less, and it shouldn't be confused or treated the same way as real life. Okay, so that's pretty much all I had in terms of covering the thematic similarities I've noticed between Serial Experiments Lain and OK Computer. I'm sure there was more I could have covered, and honestly, I have enough notes to do an entire analysis video on just Lain by itself. Let me know in the comments below if you want that in the future. So, before we wrap things up here, I want to mention some cool coincidences I found between these two works. Starting off, early on in the story of Lain, we see Chiza, I think that's how you pronounce that, a recently deceased classmate of Lain, reached out to her via email. Chiza is already dead by this point in the story, so it is very strange for her to still be sending emails to people. This idea of ghosts using electrical equipment isn't actually seen in OK Computer, but actually in the development of the album itself. You see, Radiohead recorded their masterpiece in St. Catherine's Court, a mansion that Tom York believed to be haunted, with York stating that something was actively working against them, rewinding tape machines and turning them on and off. He went on to even say that ghosts would talk to him in his sleep, and even convinced him to cut his own hair in the middle of the night. These haunting experiences even affected York on the track Exit Music for a Film, where he reported that he felt that there was someone standing behind him as the song was being recorded. Another interesting coincidence derives from OK Computer's name. Why is it called OK Computer? One reason is that it is a nod to the 1979 novel Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, where one of the characters turns their spaceship's computer on by stating the titular album name. This reason is further backed by the name of the second track off of OK Computer, Paranoid Android. Yeah, sorry guys, I know the Hitchhiker's Guide talk is a bit of a tangent, but I'm actually currently reading this book and have been since even before I decided to write this script, but just want an excuse to talk about it since I really like it and highly recommend it. In the novel, we see a depressed robot named Marvin, whose nickname is the Paranoid Android. Now, the second and third reason actually both relate to Lain more than the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. The second reason centers around a rumor that the band was in a record store in Japan and heard a kid shout OK Computer at the top of his lungs at a computer before everyone else in the record store began to chant it too. This obviously relates to Lain just in regards to setting, since Lain takes place in Japan. Also, another interesting fact is that OK Computer was actually released in Japan first before any other country. This wasn't really due to anything special besides the fact that CDs were more expensive in Japan, but a cool coincidence nonetheless. The third reason for the album's name comes from the context of the phrase itself. Think about the phrase, OK Computer. It's a phrase similar to what you would hear someone say when they're speaking to a Siri or an Alexa. In Lain, we see the computers/navis have a voice command ability, something that really wasn't seen in most consumer-grade computers in '98. Now, what makes this phrase so compelling is just how nonchalant it sounds. It's as if someone is just casually conversing with a computer, and while that's nothing profound nowadays, it's a concept that was incredibly foreign in 1997.
おやすみナビ。
おやすみなさい、レイン。
We also see that as the story of the anime progresses, reality and The Wired become so intertwined to Lain that it is something that must be acknowledged whether Lain wants to or not, similar to how you acknowledge a computer's existence with a phrase like, OK Computer. So that's pretty much it. I'm sure that there could be more connections made between Lain and OK Computer, but at the time of writing the script for this video, I felt like I should focus on a couple of big themes that stuck out to me. And while I think Lain is the OK Computer of anime thematically, you're certainly entitled to think otherwise. After all, this video was made on the premise of a joke between Taylor and I about an interview with Childish Gambino. That's Donald Glover's rap name for those of you who don't know, so it's not entirely a serious video essay. In the future, I could do a video essay just on Lain, but let me know if you guys actually want that in the comments below. Speaking of Taylor, he wasn't in the video for a specific reason. In the next month or so, I'll be moving out of the state and leaving my poor Taylor behind. This video was intended to act as sort of a test run to present to audiences what a solo video of Jump Report would look like. So what I mean by that is we're gonna have maybe a video of just me talking about whatever I want to talk about, and we might just have a video with Taylor doing something similar, talking about something he wants to talk about by himself. Now, we're still going to do videos where we're together, just we're going to be in separate rooms and we're going to try to find a way to make this work. Separate rooms, separate states, you know. And so while it sucks we won't be in the same state to record a lot of these videos, we really saw that the channel has been building up a lot of momentum, and we're trying to do the best that we can to still give you guys videos, even though there has been some setbacks in terms of location and trying to make this work as sort of our own personal project that we have. So even though we're going to be in separate states, we're still going to try to give you guys the best possible videos we can and still keep releasing on a somewhat consistent schedule. Also, we have a TikTok now. I will try to find some way to link it within the channel itself somewhere in the, I don't fucking know, but I'll also make sure to put it in the description. It's going to be run mostly by Taylor. Go over there and show him some support. It's kind of like his baby that he had out of wedlock with me. Anyways guys, let us know what we should cover next. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe on the video. Let us know how you felt watching Serial Experiments Lain, and how you felt listening to OK Computer, and let me know if you found any similarities between the two works. Also, let us know how you feel about the idea of us doing more solo videos. Thanks for watching, everyone. We'll see you soon.